Hey, my friend, welcome to day number 6. You made it. We're here. You just made it through Genesis chapters 20 through 23. Man, what a crazy 4 chapters, right? Like the Bible is just super awesome. And I pray that you've been nerding out in the comments and on the discussion board. I pray you just get into it. But today I want to bring a fast devotion, freaky fast devotion titled The Promise Moves Through. We're looking at promises, we're looking at covenants. And before these 4 chapters, where we've been in the last couple days, these chapters come after God's covenant with Abraham. But before the promise feels secure, if you know what I mean. And these chapters show how God's promise continues to advance through fear, family tension, and ordinary life, and even death. Not by avoiding them, but going straight through them. Somebody say through. Through. The promise, when we're reading these scriptures, the promise looks vulnerable, doesn't it? It's like, man, what's going to happen? Is this promise going to work? And Genesis 20 opens with a troubling repeat of early failure. I'm sure you recognized it very immediately. If not consciously, subconsciously, you felt weird. But Abraham fears again. He lies again. And he tells Abimelech that Sarah is his sister. He's doing the stuff again. And he puts the covenant line at risk once more. And Sarah's taken into another household, and the promise looks threatened again. And God intervenes directly again, protecting Sarah and preserving the promise, making it very clear that the covenant survives because God is faithful. Not because Abraham is faithful, not because Abraham outgrew his fear, but because God is faithful. We fail in familiar ways, don't we? It's like we're never failing in new ways. It might have a different, we might put a different t-shirt on, but it's the same thing. It's just a different day. We fail in familiar ways, but God, he is still faithful in those familiar ways. God knows our failures. He knows how we're going to fall, and he has planned preemptively and sovereignly to be inside of our failures. So when we fall down, he is there to pick us up, to prove his faithfulness. And as he proves his faithfulness, our faithfulness to him will grow. In Genesis 21, after decades of waiting, Isaac is finally born. The promised child is finally born. The firstborn true son of this marriage is finally here. In the miracle, he arrives quietly, and laughter becomes a reality again. But fulfillment does not erase the complexity of their entire world. Ishmael, remember the real firstborn son, the illegitimate son that they forced? Ishmael is sent away, and the household begins to fracture. And God provides for Hagar and Ishmael in the wilderness because they were sent away. But the emotional cost remains very real. And the promise continues to move forward even as the pain lingers behind. Even in the middle of the process of promises, we'll have pain. We'll have pain before we reach the promised land that was promised to Abraham, promised nation. We'll have pain. I remember when my dad passed away, pain was immense. And I knew God, after a little bit in it, I knew God was going to heal me. He had promised to me that he would heal me, but the healing came through pain. The healing came through grief, and he can keep a promise, but allow you to grieve. God can keep a promise and still allow grief, and that's what we see here. And in these 4 chapters in Genesis, these chapters, they unfold through conversations with Abimelech and conversations or maybe shouting matches in family conflicts over Isaac and Ishmael, negotiations for land. Some real estate agents are up in this story. And ultimately it ends with Sarah's death and burial. John Golden Jay said this, that God's faithfulness in the Old Testament is most often revealed through ordinary human experiences rather than dramatic spectacle. Genesis 20 through 23 reflects this reality that this theologian is talking about. As God advances his covenant through fear, negotiation, birth, conflict, and loss, not apart from them, but inside of all of those terrible things. And in the middle, when you're in the middle of these things and you're in the middle of your journey, in the middle of your promise, you're just like, what is going on? Or sometimes you can even feel bored because This isn't what I signed up for. You know, this Bible plan, we did this last year with 20-some guys, and really quickly, probably 2 months in, I'm sorry, I ain't going to tell you when we're doing Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Some of you will just leave because it might get boring and because the Bible plan might feel like work, and it might feel like you have paused your promise. But I'm telling you it's not a pause. This is not a pause in God's plan. What we read here was not a pause in the plan that God had for Abraham. This is how the plan continues to move forward. In chapter 23, Sarah dies, and Abraham weeps openly, negotiates with the Hittites, and purchases a burial plot. And this is the first piece of the promised land that Abraham legally owns. You see how it moves forward, even in loss and even in grief and even in a grave. And this promise no longer is just spoken, but it's anchored in the soil, which preaches, man. I just want to preach, but I'm already at my time limit here today. Just hear this. The promise does not die. It's planted. The promise that started in the Garden of Eden does not die. It was planted, and it's going to grow through the people of God. In Genesis 21 and Genesis 23, these two chapters, they are intentionally paired. Life is born, life is buried, but the covenant continues. God is faithful in celebration and faithful